12-year-old Lena Alvarez had always known how to be invisible. It was a survival skill, one she had learned from years of quietly accompanying her father, the night shift janitor, to the gleaming, echoing top floors of Sterling Dynamics, the tallest corporate tower in the city. Every night, while her father swept polished halls and wiped down glass tables, Lena stayed tucked away in the break room, sketching superheroes in her notebook. She liked drawing characters who saved the world, characters who were brave in ways she didn't feel she was. But tonight, she forgot that very notebook. And her life, along with someone else's, changed because of it. It started with a soft electronic hum, the elevator doors sliding open on the 42nd floor, followed by Lena's quick footsteps as she retraced her way down the corridor. The air here always smelled faintly of citrus disinfectant and old wood polish, the sense of her father's late shift. She glanced over her shoulder, checking if he was still in the conference room. He was, his silhouette visible through frosted glass as he wiped down chairs. "Back in 2 minutes," she whispered, though he couldn't hear her. The hallway was dim. Most employees had left hours ago. The only lights came from wall sconces and the soft glow under the CEO's private lounge door. She tiptoed forward. Her sketchbook had to be inside the lounge, on the table where she'd been coloring earlier. She wasn't technically allowed in there, but her father always said, "Just don't touch anything important and you'll be fine." As she approached, she heard voices. Low. Sharp. Urgent. Lena froze mid-step. "She won't last past tomorrow," a man whispered, voice clipped and determined. Another voice, colder, smoother, responded, "Then make sure she drinks it. No mistakes." Lena's heart slammed against her ribs, so hard, she felt it echo in her ears. She shouldn't be here. She shouldn't be listening. But she couldn't move. Her feet rooted to the marble floor, she leaned the slightest fraction toward the lounge door, just enough to catch a sliver of light and shadow. Inside, she recognized the tall figure of Mr. Gregory Crane, one of the senior executives, leaning over the CEO's drinking glass. Beside him stood Ms. Meredith Dalton, the company's ruthless CFO. Crane held a tiny glass vial, no bigger than his thumb. It glinted under the chandelier light. He uncorked it. A chilling, metallic click filled the air. Lena sucked in a breath and covered her mouth. Crane poured the vial's contents, an oily, clear liquid, into the CEO's drink. The amber whiskey shimmered, then swallowed the poison completely, turning innocent again. Dalton paced near the window. "Once she collapses at tomorrow's board meeting," she muttered, "the blame will fall on stress or age. Not us." Crane smirked. "Evelyn Hart has been in our way long enough. After she's gone, the rest of the board will vote me in as CEO. And you," he added with a sideways glance, "will take over her financial chair." Dalton crossed her arms. "As long as you're sure this works." "It's undetectable," Crane said confidently. "A few hours after she drinks it, her heart simply stops." Lena's knees trembled. She felt her body shrinking, folding in on itself in terror. She took one step back, just one, but the floor beneath her foot creaked softly. Crane's head snapped toward the door. Lena froze so violently her muscles screamed. "Did you hear that?" Dalton asked. "Someone's outside," Crane muttered. His footsteps approached. Closer. Closer. Lena pressed herself flat against the wall, squeezing her eyes shut. Her mind raced. Run? Hide? Breathe? Don't breathe? The door handle rattled. Then another sound. Footsteps. From farther down the hall. Crane paused. "It's probably the janitor," Dalton said dismissively. "Relax. No one would dare question us." Crane's ego got the better of him. He withdrew from the door. The tension snapped like a rubber band, and Lena bolted. She didn't know where she was running, just away, as far away as possible. Her breath came in frantic, choked bursts as she flew down the hallway with the speed of a hunted deer. She nearly collided with her father when she reached the conference room. "Mija?" Miguel said, startled. "What happened? You look pale." Lena grabbed his sleeve with shaking hands. "Dad, they put something in her drink. They want to kill the CEO." Miguel stared at her, stunned.
What?
Who? Lena slowed down. But she couldn't slow down. The images were still seared into her mind. The vial, the poison swirling, Crane's vicious whisper. Once she drinks this, she won't last past tomorrow. It's true. Lena cried, voice cracking.
I saw it.
I saw everything. Miguel knew his daughter didn't make up stories. Not like this. Not when she was trembling like a fragile leaf caught in the wind. He crouched, holding her shoulders. Are you sure? Lena nodded violently, tears forming. They were going to kill her. Miguel stood instantly. His jaw clenched, a storm brewing beneath his calm exterior.
Come with me, he said.
We're telling Ms. Hart. Right now. Lena swallowed hard. She knew, deep in her bones, that after tonight, nothing would ever be the same. And she prayed, truly prayed, that she wasn't already too late. Lena's legs felt like water as she followed her father down the quiet, dim hallway of the top executive floor. Every shadow felt threatening now, every sound amplified. The thick carpet swallowed their footsteps, but her heartbeat echoed like a drum inside her chest. Miguel's usually calm face was etched with worry, his brows drawn tight as he kept one firm hand on her shoulder. He didn't doubt his daughter. Not for a second, but the weight of what she said hung heavy between them. Attempted murder. Not office drama. Not gossip. Not misunderstanding. Deliberate murder. Stay close, Miguel whispered, glancing behind them. Don't look back. Lena tried not to, but she couldn't help flicking her eyes toward the lounge far down the corridor, toward the very place she saw Crane and Dalton plot the CEO's death. The lounge door was closed again.
Silent.
Innocent. But inside that room was a glass that could end someone's life. The thought made her stomach twist. She wasn't brave like her sketchbook heroes. She wasn't strong or bold or fearless. She was just a kid. But she was a kid who saw the truth. A truth no one else knew. And now it was her responsibility. Her father guided her toward the elevator that led to the CEO's private office suite. Only high-level clearance could open the door, but Miguel had cleaned the area for 5 years. He knew the back way. Will she believe us? Lena whispered, hugging herself tightly. Miguel hesitated. A long, painful hesitation. I don't know, he admitted. But I know this. If we say nothing, something terrible will happen. And I can't live with that.
Can you?
Lena shook her head, tears filling her eyes again.
No.
Miguel pressed the elevator button. The polished steel doors slid open with a soft ding. They stepped inside. As the elevator ascended to the CEO's suite, higher, higher, the pressure in Lena's chest grew heavier. The floor numbers ticked up slowly. Too slowly. Every second mattered. Every floor felt like another barrier between her and saving Evelyn Hart's life. When the doors opened, the lighting was different. Warmer.
Softer.
Quiet in a way that felt intentional. The CEO's suite wasn't like the rest of the building. Expensive paintings lined the walls. Fresh flowers filled the air with a faint jasmine scent. Everything was pristine, luxurious, perfect, as if danger couldn't reach this high. But danger had already climbed the tower, and it wore tailored suits and polished shoes. Miguel led Lena to a frosted glass door marked Evelyn Hart, CEO. He raised his hand to knock but hesitated. What if they come after us? Lena whispered, voice trembling. Miguel glanced at her with a mix of fear and determination. They might, he admitted. But good people don't stay silent. Not when a life is at stake. He knocked. 3 soft, deliberate taps. For a moment, nothing. Then the lock clicked. The door opened, and there stood Evelyn Hart, a tall woman with sharp cheekbones, silver-streaked hair tied in a neat twist, and intelligent eyes that missed nothing. She wasn't used to unexpected interruptions, especially from a janitor. Mr. Alvarez? Evelyn said, brows lifting. Is everything all right? Why are you on this floor during my working hours? And who is? Before she could finish, Lena stepped forward, voice breaking. Please don't drink anything from the lounge. They put something in your glass. They want to hurt you. Evelyn blinked. Silence swept the space like a sudden gust of wind. Miguel placed a steadying hand on Lena's back. "It's true, Miss Hart," he said. "My daughter saw something. Something dangerous." Evelyn stared at them both, first confused, then cautious, then suspicious. Lena swallowed hard. She felt so small under Evelyn's analytical gaze. "Tell me exactly what you saw," Evelyn said softly, kneeling down to Lena's height. Lena repeated everything, her voice shaky but clear. The lounge. The whispers.
Crane.
Dalton. The vial. The poison dissolving into the amber drink. The exact words they used. "Once she drinks this, she won't last past tomorrow." Evelyn didn't interrupt once. She didn't dismiss her. She didn't laugh. By the end, her face had transformed into something fierce, something Lena had never seen before. A cold fire. When Lena finished, silence lingered. Then Evelyn rose to her full height.
"Follow me," she said.
Not frightened, not frantic, focused. She walked to her desk and pressed a small, hidden button under it. The room lights flickered once, brief and subtle. "Internal security emergency protocol activated," Evelyn said. "Someone will be here in under a minute." Miguel's breath caught. "You believe us?" Evelyn turned to them. "Your daughter didn't come here to lie," she said firmly. "A lie doesn't look like that." She nodded at Lena's shaking hands. "She's terrified. And terrified people don't build stories. They confess truths." Lena blinked up at her. Did I do the right thing?" Evelyn knelt again, placing a hand over Lena's. "You may have just saved my life." The door burst open as two internal investigators entered, tall, serious-looking men in suits that didn't quite hide their military posture. Evelyn's voice hardened. "In the executive lounge is a whiskey glass. Secure it immediately. Do not allow Crane or Dalton access to anything." "Yes, ma'am," the lead officer said before disappearing. Evelyn looked back at Miguel and Lena. "You're safe here, no matter what happens next." Lena let out a trembling breath she'd been holding for minutes. Her father squeezed her shoulder. And for the first time since she stumbled upon the truth, she felt hope. Evelyn Hart wasn't an easy woman to unsettle. She had faced mergers, scandals, crashes, and billion-dollar decisions. She'd been betrayed, threatened, and underestimated more times than she could count. But she had never imagined someone within her own circle would try to take her life. And certainly not that the warning would come from a little girl in sneakers, clutching her father's sleeve, eyes wide with fear. As Evelyn watched her internal security team vanish toward the lounge, she felt her pulse thrum. Not from fear, but from cold, focused anger. Crane and Dalton. She had suspected them of manipulation, of backdoor deals, of pushing for power.
But murder?
That was a different arena. She turned toward Lena, who sat perched on the edge of a leather chair, fingers twisted together, breathing unevenly. Miguel hovered beside her, alert, tense, ready to shield her from any danger, even an emotional one. Evelyn knelt again, softening her voice in a way almost no employee had ever heard. "Lena, I want you to know something." The girl looked up hesitantly. "You were extraordinarily brave today," Evelyn continued. "Not many adults would have done what you did. You spoke up even when it scared you. That takes courage." Lena swallowed. I didn't want anything bad to happen. And because of you," Evelyn said, "nothing will." But even as she said the words, the elevator dinged outside the office, soft but ominous. Heavy footsteps approached down the hall. Evelyn's instincts sharpened instantly. She stood. Miguel grabbed his daughter's hand protectively. A moment later, Crane and Dalton appeared at the glass door of the office, their silhouettes tall and sharp against the hallway lights. Crane knocked once, confident, smug. "Miss Hart," he called lightly. "We heard there's an issue on the floor. Is everything okay?" Evelyn exchanged a quick glance with Miguel. He understood. She needed time. She approached the door, but didn't open it. Instead, she pressed a button on her desk console, tinting the glass to opaque. Crane's blurred shape leaned closer. "Miss Hart? We need to speak about the presentation tomorrow." Dalton's voice followed, sugary but strained. "We didn't see your security team on the floor." is everything. Evelyn pressed another button. A lock snapped into place. A thick, metallic slide. Crane rattled the handle, startled. Evelyn. His friendly tone cracked, but she didn't respond. Instead, she gestured silently to Miguel to move Lena farther into the room, away from the glass. Inside her chest, her anger burned hot and steady. Those two expected her to be dead within 24 hours. They had plotted her downfall with the arrogance of people who thought themselves untouchable. Now they stood outside her locked door, unaware that investigators were already securing evidence that would destroy them. A knock sounded again, harder this time. "Miss Hart," Crane said, voice tightening. "We insist you open the door." Immediately. Miguel stiffened. Lena's small fingers gripped his shirt. Evelyn lifted her chin. She pressed the intercom button on her desk. Her voice came through the hallway speakers, calm, cold, and cutting. "Mr. Crane. Ms. Dalton. Return to your offices. You'll be contacted shortly." Dalton snapped. "Is something happening we should know about?" Evelyn cut the intercom. Inside the office, tension coiled like a rope about to snap. Outside, muffled arguing began, Crane's harsh whispers, Dalton's urgent replies. But they didn't dare force the door. Not yet. Not when they didn't know how much she knew. Then, footsteps. Several pairs. Fast and purposeful. Evelyn exhaled in relief as her internal security team returned. The lead officer's voice echoed faintly. "Mr. Crane.
Ms. Dalton.
You need to step aside." "What's the meaning of this?" Crane barked. "The CEO has ordered immediate containment of the executive lounge," the officer replied. "We found a glass with suspicious contents and need both of you detained for questioning." Dalton gasped. Crane cursed. Their voices faded as the officers escorted them down the hall. Miguel held Lena close, whispering gently, "It's okay, Mija. They can't hurt anyone now." But Lena's eyes remained wide, frightened. What if they say I lied? What if they try to blame us? Evelyn stepped closer and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "No one is blaming you. And no one will touch you," she promised. "I will make sure of that." The girl blinked up at her.
"Why?"
"Because you told the truth," Evelyn said. "And because I owe you my life." The weight of that truth sank into the room, like a stone dropping into water. A soft buzz interrupted them, Evelyn's private phone. She answered, listening silently for several seconds before speaking. "Understood. Secure the evidence and bring them to the holding room." She ended the call and turned back to Miguel and Lena. "The drink tested positive," she said quietly. "If I had consumed it, I wouldn't be standing here." Lena's breath hitched. Miguel bowed his head, whispering a prayer under his breath. Evelyn sat beside Lena again, her voice gentler than before. "Do you know what kind of people change the world?" she asked. Lena shook her head. "People who speak up," Evelyn said. "People who see something wrong and do something about it. People who are afraid but act anyway." Her eyes softened. "People like you." A tear slid down Lena's cheek, not from fear now, but from something deeper. Relief. Validation.
Strength.
Evelyn reached into her drawer and pulled out a glass of water, offering it to her. Lena hesitated. "It's safe," Evelyn assured her with a small smile. The girl took a sip, calming her trembling breath. "Miss Hart, what happens now?" Miguel asked timidly. Evelyn's expression hardened again. Steel beneath silk. "Now," she said, "we make sure justice is served." She rose to her full height. "And no one ever harms my company or my people again." Crane and Dalton were escorted into the internal investigation room, a soundproof chamber deep within the building, far from the glossy executive floors they were used to ruling over. It wasn't a police station, but it was close. Sterling Dynamics had its own highly trained investigative division, built to handle internal threats long before they reached outside authorities. And, tonight, those investigators were working fast. Evelyn Hart stood on the observation side of the two-way mirror, her arms crossed, her gaze sharp as a blade. Her reflection in the glass looked different than usual. Harder. Colder. A woman betrayed but unbroken. Miguel and Lena stood behind her, unsure if they should even be there, but Evelyn insisted. You witnessed the crime, she told them. You deserve to see justice begin. Lena hesitated. Will they know we're here? No, Evelyn said. They can't see you. That helped barely. Inside the interrogation room, Crane's mask of arrogance was beginning to slip. His tailored suit looked stiff on him now, like the fabric could sense guilt. Dalton sat beside him, her jaw tense, her fingers tapping anxiously on her chair. A lead investigator entered, placing a sealed evidence bag on the table.
Inside it,
The whiskey glass. The fingerprints. The tiny residue of transparent poison. Crane leaned back, attempting nonchalance. Is this really necessary? He scoffed. Are we being treated like criminals for a misunderstanding? The investigator did not smile. Mr. Crane, he said calmly, we ran a chemical analysis. The substance in this glass is highly lethal. The dosage was intentional. Dalton's face drained of color. That's absurd, she stammered. We had nothing to do with that glass. Perhaps someone else. Miss Dalton, the investigator interrupted, your fingerprint is on the rim of the glass. Her words died instantly. Evelyn watched, expression unreadable. She wasn't celebrating. This wasn't victory. This was confirmation of betrayal. And it hurt more than she expected. Lena tugged gently at Evelyn's sleeve. Are you okay? She whispered. Evelyn blinked down at her. I will be, she said softly. Because of you. Inside the interrogation room, Crane leaned forward, abandoning all pretense. Listen, he said, voice low. You don't understand what's happening. There's a power struggle in the company. The board is divided. Decisions are being made above your pay grade. You're interfering in things you shouldn't. That's enough, the investigator said firmly. Crane's eyes darkened. I know my rights. And unless you have solid proof. We do, the investigator said calmly. Security footage from the lounge. Dalton's eyes shot up. Footage, she whispered. Crane whipped his head toward her. You disabled the cameras. I thought I did, she hissed. Evelyn exhaled quietly, a sigh of both relief and exhaustion. I installed new lenses last month, she whispered to Miguel and Lena. They don't know about them yet. Miguel looked at her with newfound respect. You were already anticipating trouble? Let's just say, Evelyn murmured, I've been running this company long enough to prepare for snakes. In the footage, displayed on a monitor for the investigators, Crane and Dalton were caught crystal clear, hovering over the CEO's drink, pouring the vial, whispering details of their plan. Dalton buried her face in her hands, shoulders shaking. Crane slammed his fist on the table. This is taken out of context. The lead investigator simply stood. You are both being detained until external authorities arrive. You'll be charged with attempted murder. Dalton broke first. Gregory, she screamed at Crane. I told you this was insane. You said it would look natural, stress, exhaustion, something explainable. You said no one would ever know. Crane snarled back. You agreed to the plan. Don't pretend you didn't. Their partnership dissolved into chaos, screaming, accusations, frantic denial. But none of it mattered now. The truth was out. They were finished. Evelyn turned away from the glass, exhaustion visible in the slump of her shoulders. The adrenaline that fueled her for hours was wearing off, leaving only the emotional bruises. She looked at Lena. You must be exhausted, she said softly. Lena bit her lip. I feel scared, but also relieved. That's normal, Evelyn replied gently. Courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing the right thing even when you are. Miguel nodded, squeezing his daughter's shoulder. I'm so proud of you, Mija. Evelyn gestured toward her private office. Come with me. There's something I need to say. They followed her back into the quiet, spacious suite. The city lights twinkled outside the wall of glass, a stark contrast to the darkness that had almost consumed the company tonight. Evelyn lowered herself into the chair across from them. Mr. Alvarez, she began, I owe your daughter my life. And I owe you my gratitude for raising a child with such integrity. Miguel looked stunned. Miss Hart, we just did what anyone would do. Evelyn shook her head.
No.
Not anyone. Many people stay silent. Many people ignore danger, hoping someone else will handle it. She looked at Lena again. But you didn't. Lena's eyes shimmered. Evelyn continued, her voice growing steady. Tomorrow, the police will process Crane and Dalton. The board will be informed. And I will address the entire company.
She paused.
And I want both of you there. Miguel's breath caught. Us. Yes, Evelyn said. Because the entire company deserves to know who saved their CEO. Lena blinked rapidly. Me? You, Evelyn said, smiling softly. The bravest person in this building. But as the clock ticked toward midnight, someone else in the shadows of the 42nd floor was watching. Listening. Waiting. Because Crane and Dalton weren't working alone. And the real mastermind hadn't been caught yet. If you want to save her life, the girl whispered, you need to act now. Everything after that unfolded like a storm no one saw coming. Maya's voice shook as she stood in front of the CEO's office, her palms sweating, her heart pounding like it might burst out of her chest. But she wasn't alone. Elena stood beside her, her face pale yet determined, her fingers clutching her phone, where a video played quietly on loop. Two executives slipping powder into Elena's coffee while laughing about the accident that would remove her forever. Elena watched the footage a second time, then a third. Her jaw tightened. Her voice sharpened. Her spine straightened. I trusted them, she muttered. I trusted them with my company. Maya swallowed. I'm sorry. I didn't know who else to tell. Elena placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. You told the right person.
Because now?
There was no fear left in her. Only fire. The confrontation no one was ready for. Elena didn't call security. She didn't call HR. She didn't call the board. She called a company-wide emergency meeting. 1,000 employees filled the auditorium, murmurs twisting into confusion. This wasn't normal. CEOs didn't call unplanned full-staff meetings unless a disaster had happened. And a disaster had happened. Maya stood backstage, her father's large protective hand on her shoulder, his face tense with worry. He knew this could go terribly wrong. Rich people didn't usually protect janitors' kids. They protected themselves. But Elena wasn't like the others. She didn't walk like a queen or talk like she owned people. She had always nodded at him, always smiled at Maya, always said thank you when most executives didn't even acknowledge their existence. He prayed silently that he was right about her character. When Elena stepped onto the stage, the room fell silent. She didn't smile. She didn't give her usual graceful speeches. She looked like a storm given human form. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, she said, her voice cutting through the air. Today, we deal with treachery. The crowd buzzed. The board members shifted in their seats. The two executives, Mr. Lawson and Ms. Reed, sat in the front row, pretending confusion. Elena pointed directly at them. You two tried to murder me. A wave of gasps erupted across the room like a chain reaction. Some employees shouted. Others stood. Several pulled out their phones. Lawson scoffed. Elena, this is absurd. Play it, Elena commanded. Maya stepped onto the stage, trembling but brave, and pressed the button. The video projected onto the massive screen. Lawson and Reed leaning over Elena's coffee mug. Lawson shaking a vial. Reed giggling. Lawson muttering, by the time anyone realizes, we'll already be in control of the board. The room exploded into chaos. Security swarmed forward. Reporters, who Elena had invited secretly, snapped photos. Employees shouted, some crying, some recording, all stunned by the betrayal unveiled right in front of them. Lawson turned white as ash. Reed burst into tears, pleading, it wasn't my idea. But there was no escape.
Not now.
Not with evidence. Elena stood tall. You wanted my title, she said, her voice cold but controlled. Instead, you're getting handcuffs. Security dragged them away as Lawson screamed, you'll regret this. Elena didn't even blink. The aftermath and the heart of it all. When the chaos died down, Elena returned to the stage. "There is someone we need to thank," she said, gesturing for Maya to join her. "This brave young woman saved my life." The crowd erupted in applause. Maya froze, stunned. No one had ever clapped for her. Not at school. Not in life. She was invisible. A janitor's kid. But today, they saw her. Elena knelt, so she was eye level with Maya. "You should never have had to see something so dangerous," she said softly. "But because you spoke up, I'm alive." Maya's eyes filled. I didn't want you to get hurt. And I won't forget that." Then Elena did something no one expected. She hugged Maya. Not a formal, stiff hug. A genuine, warm, protective embrace. The kind that said, "You matter. You're seen." When she stood again, she announced, "Starting today, Maya will receive a full scholarship, high school, college, everything covered. No conditions. No debts. Just gratitude." The employees erupted again. Maya's father covered his face, tears falling freely. But Elena wasn't finished. "And her father," she said, looking at him, "will be promoted into facilities management. Higher pay, benefits, a real office. His dedication deserves recognition." It was the first time in his life the janitor felt valued. The kind of valued money couldn't buy. A new beginning. After everything ended, Maya approached Elena backstage. "Are you sure it's okay?" she whispered. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." Elena smiled, a real smile this time. "You didn't cause trouble," she said. "You revealed the truth." Then she added, "And sometimes the truth needs someone brave enough to speak it, even if they're the smallest voice in the room." For the first time in her life, Maya believed she wasn't small. She wasn't invisible. She was the girl who saved a CEO's life. She was the girl who stood up when it mattered. And Elena? She wasn't just a CEO anymore. She was a survivor, reborn, awakened, and surrounded by people who truly cared. You could feel it in the air. This wasn't the end of their story. It was the beginning of a bond that would change all their lives.